it's Bucket. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of our brand new series where we're going to be playing all the mods 10 to the sky. I'm sure you're wondering what to expect from my playthrough. Firstly, I know that some of you might think that I'm a huge nerd when it comes to playing modded Minecraft, and you're not necessarily wrong. But I am actually quite new to Modpacks. This is actually going to be our third mod pack that I've played. So if it seems like I don't know about mods that have been in older mod packs, that's probably because there's a good chance that I don't know about mods that have been in older mod packs. But I've managed to learn a lot about existing mods because I absolutely love playing these. So much so that, you may or may not be watching my second playthrough of this pack. Woo! What are you looking at? But since this is definitely our first playthrough of the series, but more importantly the first playthrough of the channel, I'm actually really excited to show you guys how I like to do some of my setups, how to approach certain scenarios, and all the little tips and tricks I've learned over time. So throughout this playthrough, I'm going to be walking you through why we make the decisions we make, why I might think a certain route might be better than another, but also just as an excuse to showcase how I approach certain mods, I will be exploring some things as well that aren't necessarily required to complete the pack, especially if they're fun. So keep that in mind and even leave us a comment if there's anything in particular you want to see me get into. But enough chit chat, let's get into it. So it looks like to start off, we're going to choose the island that we're going to start on. So we're going to type skyblock GUI. And it looks like we need to create a team. So we have a few different islands to choose from. So we've got Simple Life, Witch Cottage, Default, Sanguine Sanctuary, Steve's Staycation, and the Piggy. So each island kind of offers some different perks. And different parts of the island will be useful for progression. That being said, you don't have to use any of it for progression, you can just have a nice island. Let's take a look at one of these islands real quick. Alright, so I've loaded into the Sanguine Sanctuary just to show you around a little bit. As you can see, it's quite nice. You get a nice decorated building, and it looks like you have some predefined areas. For example, this area you could probably use for storage. There's even some barrels up top. A little kitchen here. You even have a roast chicken that you can eat. So outside you can see there's a lot going on. So with this one, you get water, get moss, trees, and underneath our base of operations, we got even more going on. A nice little cave here with various resources, and mushrooms, dripstone. So you have a lot going on, a lot that you can use for resources if you wanted to. So the different islands will have various different perks that you could consider to be an advantage. Some more obvious ones, some will have more dirt, some will have water, some will have more trees. All of these will be helpful, but you don't actually need any of them. And of course, we gotta show you exactly how to do that. Which means, of course, we're gonna choose the default island. So for these videos, I kinda had to decide whether this is gonna be more like a playthrough or whether this is gonna be more like a walkthrough tutorial. And I figure, well, why not be a little bit of both? So we're gonna call this series the Let's Walk. So guys, let's take a walk through all the mods 10 to the sky. And we're here. Welcome to utter darkness. Okay, first things first. Few things you're going to notice when you're watching this playthrough. The first thing you're going to notice is we are using EMI instead of JEI. And the reason for that is EMI has recipe trees. If you're not too familiar with modern Minecraft, a lot of complicated crafts involve a lot of searching through JEI. You need this to get this, to get this, to get this, to get this. And it can be pretty hard to follow, even when you're playing. So having something like a crafting tree so you can visualize what's going on just makes it a little bit easier for your sake. If you want to install EMI yourself, what you want to do is you want to install too many recipe viewers. That's TMRV. This will install EMI, but also just make it work with your game. When you do this, you're going to want to disable JEI as well. The thing that's a little bit annoying is you will have to disable JEI every time you update your game, so just keep that in mind. You also might see this from time to time. This is the key bundles mod. When you're playing modded Minecraft, there are a lot of keybinds. It's hard to remember all your keybinds, and at some point, you start to run out of keys. So essentially what key bundles does is you can assign keybinds for your keybinds. So for example, I've assigned a key to bring up this radio menu. And then in this radio menu, I can assign keybinds to it. If you guys use the tool belt mod, it's kind of like that, but for keybinds. On top of that, if you want your key to have a default function most of the time, I can bookmark my backpack, for example. And now that I don't have a backpack right now, and now that key is bound to my backpack. If you're not sure, all of the information is on the Key Bundles mod page, so be sure to check it out, because honestly, this is so useful. A brand new day is upon us. Now, if you don't know much about skyblock mod packs, we don't have a lot to start off with. In fact, we have dirt, tree, and that's it. We have some starting items too. So traditionally in these mod packs, there's a lot of waiting and a lot of out-of-the-box thinking to get basic resources. But because this is modern Minecraft, there are a lot of little mods in place that help us through the early stages of the game. Now if you yourself are playing this mod pack, the first thing you want to do is you want to check out the quests. Chapter 1 specifically. Now if you're not sure with how to approach the mod pack, how to start out, the quest is always a good place to start. And they'll tell you exactly what you need to do to get started. In addition, I will point out these two quests right here. So there is an emergency quest. As you may have noticed, we have one tree. And we might mess this one up. But luckily, this emergency quest is in place, so if we happen to lose our saplings, we can always get more from the quests. This is actually a repeatable quest, so if we keep getting unlucky or if we drop all of our saplings off the edge, we can always come here to get a new sapling as many times as we want. And this is just nice so you don't have to restart your whole world. Also, if you don't like the early stages of the game, if you don't like the early game struggle, there's this quest. This will give you a little starter pack. And these items will just make things a little bit easier for people who don't like that early game struggle, who don't like to do those tedious things to get these items at the start of the game. But of course, we're not going to be using any of that. So to start off, we are going to want to harvest this tree. But we don't want to lose any of the drops, any of the saplings. We don't want any of that to fall over the edge. Oh, and one more thing. This void here, yeah, this isn't really a void. This is actually pretty safe. We won't die at all. Wow, that would have been really awkward if we died just now. Ahem. Let me just, claim our quest rewards. Oh my god, thank god. Thank god we have some food. I love modern Minecraft. Anyway, so we want to harvest this tree, but we don't want any drops to fall off the edge. So we're going to need some blocks. Now there is actually a mechanic in place where we can find pebbles on the ground. So if we shift and right click, look at that, we're getting pebbles. And if we get enough of these, let me just clear our inventory. So these stone pebbles, if we put it in a 4x4, we can actually craft cobblestone. Just like that, it's that easy. Alright, now listen up, because I'm about to go over the tips and tricks that you're gonna need to know to get through the early stages of the game. Now, I don't want to sound like that guy who uses external resources to enhance my gameplay, but honestly, you are gonna want an auto clicker for this early stage. I know that sounds a bit lame, but there's gonna be a lot of this clicking at the start. And honestly, being able to click fast just speed things up. So I actually have a macro on my keyboard that I'm gonna be using. And just so you understand how much nicer this is, now we lost a few, but we're getting so many more pebbles. It's much, much faster. That's going to speed things up quite a bit. Now the other thing you're going to want to know is there are keybinds to automatically compress and decompress items. So the default is Shift K. So if we just hover over this stone and we press this, it's going to auto compress all of our cobblestone. And that's going to make this stage of the game much easier. So we have a few blocks now. Now to help us build off the edge, we're going to get some help from the bridging mod. Now it's called reach around mode, and it's just going to let us place blocks on the edge without having to look at the actual face of the block. Now reach around mode should be enabled by default, but it is the command key on your keyboard. And that's just going to allow us to place blocks like that without having to do all this sneaky stuff around edges. It's just going to make placing blocks a lot easier. Now, placement can get a little wonky sometimes, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. Damn it. Mistakes have been made. Listen, it may not be pretty, but we'll get there eventually. And so you just want to make sure that you're doing this with an empty hand. And just imagine if we weren't using a macro. This would honestly take forever. Okay, that should be plenty of stone. So we can auto compress all of this. Very nice. Alright, so this should give us enough. Okay, time to cut down this tree. Now we're going to be using Ultimine. Now the default button for Ultimine is going to be the tilde button. And this is just going to allow us to mine the whole tree at once. Yes, so now we quickly learn whether or not we lose all of our saplings due to our carelessness. which is exactly why the emergency quest is in place. It looks like we got lucky this time. And now for our next trick. Now within the pack, there is a mod that allows you to grow things quickly by torquing. So if we just do some squats, we can grow this tree instantly. It's gonna work for crops and flowers as well. Alright, so now that we have some resources. First thing I'd recommend making is a crafting table on a stick. And this is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's a portable crafting table that you can keep on you in your curio slot. This just allows us to have a crafting table on us at all times. So you will have to look for the keybind for this. And just so you know, there are 2 crafting table on a stick keybinds. So this one here that you see I have a keybind for, open crafting on a stick, this is the one you want. Okay, so now that we have a crafting table, we can finally build a pickaxe to get rid of some of this stone. And I'm also going to be building a hammer. So first, let me just clean up some of this stone. Alright, there we go. Alright, perfect. What? Oh! Isn't this a fresh world? How are we getting phantoms ready? This is what happens when you spend so much time talking to the camera. Ah! Need a sword. This is supposed to be the first day. Ah! Damn it, man. Oh. Alright. Actually jumped the gun on this hammer, so we're gonna get back to that. Let's craft some storage. Oh. I'm gonna replant this tree and we're just gonna let it grow naturally. Okay, so there's a few things that we're gonna want. So firstly, doing this for stone is gonna be a pain. So what we want to work towards is actually going to be a generator, a stone generator. So this is from Cobblegen Galore. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's a cobblestone generator. It also uses similar mechanics to generate other kinds of stones and materials. That's what we're going to want to be working towards so that we can get stone a lot easier. We're not going to have to do all this pebble grinding. Now to get this part is actually just like a cobblestone generator. So we're going to need 2 main things, water and lava. Then we're going to need something to pick up the water and lava, something like a bucket. So we're probably going to need some iron. Now, how are we going to get water and lava? This is all going to be thanks to a mod called Xdiorum. And this is what a lot of the early game mechanics are going to be based around. So having basically nothing, a lot of resources would be really difficult to get. But this mod will add some interesting mechanics with some of these items that will allow us to get some of them a lot easier. Now it is actually raining, so we should actually be taking advantage of this. So what we want to do is we want to craft a barrel. And I've temporarily forgotten how to craft this. So we want to use JEI as much as possible. Again, we are using EMI, but that's fine. Alright, so we need some slabs. There we go, we have our barrel. And the reason for that is we can get some easy water at first from the rain. So this is slowly going to fill with water. Now I did say we are going to be doing things a little bit differently and not necessarily the most efficient way. Because, well, it might not even rain for you. So how you would normally get water is we actually want to make a crucible. So if we take a look at the crucibles, so I'm hovering over this and I'm pressing U to find its uses, we can see that we can actually put greenery in the crucible to turn into water. Now having a look at this list, now based on what we have available to us, we're mainly just going to be able to do saplings. Now it would be nice, I mean, what comes with trees that has a lot of greenery? Leaves, right? It would be nice if we could get some leaves, but we need to make some shears. But we don't have any kind of gear. That's when we want to have a look at some of these other mechanics. Now the next major mechanic, again from XDiorum, is going to be sieving. And we're going to be doing this a lot. So basically we're going to be using this with some mesh. We're going to sift through different blocks to find materials inside. Long story short, we're going to place blocks inside and we're going to get resources in return. So if we have a look at the sieve in JEI, again I'm hovering over this, I'm pressing U. If we look at the sieve tab, we can see all of these resources that we can get from sieving. So let's look for something that's a bit more easier for us to get. Gravel. So if we sieve gravel, we can get ores, we can get flint, coal. Flint is actually something we're going to be interested in because with flint, thanks to another mod, we can actually make gear with flint. In particular, we can make shears. With shears, we can get leaves. Okay, we're in business. So for water, if it's not raining, just to be clear, we can get leaves. In order to do that, we need shears. To get that, we need flint, which we can get from sieving. That's where we're at right now. Now, how do we sieve? We can make a sieve from oak, but the mesh, we need string. How do we get string? Oh boy. Okay, so there are two ways to get string. One, we can use XDiorum. And how we do that is we need to craft a crook. So if we read this, it says crooks will give us a much better chance of getting saplings and apples from leaves, but also we can get silkworms. And silkworms are the gateway to getting string, which I'm going to be showing you that in a moment. Okay, so we have our tree. Now let us grow. Alright, so let's get a crook. Alright, I'm going to hover over this. I'm going to press A, and that's going to bookmark it for us. Now, this feature is only available in EMI, but if I actually bookmark it here in the crafting screen, that's actually going to save the recipe. So if I open up my crafting table and I click this, boom, it's going to automatically put everything in the crafting table for us. That's quite handy. Now, can we reach this? Yes, we can. So I'm actually going to try and alt mine this just to make it a bit quicker. And we have gotten absolutely nothing. This platform could be a little bit bigger, ideally. Okay, we can auto craft ourselves another crook because we are going to need it. Let's actually craft ourselves an axe as well. And we're out of stone. God, I love this macro. Okay, and we need an axe. Alright. Another sapling. Do some twerking. Use our crook. Nothing. Wonder if it's better if we do this one at a time. We could just be the most... Oh, there we go. So if you ever feel like you're really unlucky, just complain to the world enough, and you'll get what you want. That's how it works. So we have ourselves a silkworm. We want to plant a brand new tree. Now if we use a silkworm on a leaf, we've now infested the leaves. This is going to spread throughout the entire tree. It's going to take a little bit. Actually, should we use both of these? Why not? It's just going to spread a little bit quicker. So we're going to wait for it to spread. Alright, yeah, it's going to take some time. While that happens, we may as well get some more stone. And this hammer is actually what we're going to be using to get gravel. So if we place down some cobblestone and use the hammer on it, it's going to be like a crushing mechanic. So we're going to get gravel out of this. So if we actually use the hammer on this again, we're going to get sand. And one more time, we're going to get dust. And all of these, other than just being resources, if we sieve all of these are all going to give us different materials. And you can check JAI to see exactly what you're going to get. Right? Different materials from different materials. So you're going to get different things from sieving different materials. So we are going to want to automate all of these ideally, just so we can get a wide range of materials. Now, hammering all of these one by one is going to be a huge pain. So what we can actually do is we're actually going to craft a few more of these. 8 is actually exactly the amount that I want. And we're going to craft a compressed hammer. Okay. I'm just going to shift click all of these in here. A compressed hammer. And this is going to allow us to use the hammer mechanic on compressed blocks. Now that we have access to a 3x3 crafting grid, we can actually use the compression hotkey and we can compress the cobblestone. So now with this 1x compressed cobblestone, we can use the hammer on it. And there you go. So hammering this compressed cobblestone block is going to be much easier than hammering 9 individual cobblestone blocks. So you're going to want a compressed hammer. It's very nice. All right, how's our string doing? It looks like everything's fully invested. So let's use our crook on this. Oh, we get string and silkworms. Amazing. All right, let's actually craft ourselves a sieve. Okay, there we go. Our first sieve. All right, let's think about where we want to put this. I think right here. We are going to want to build this platform out a bit. So we are going to need some more blocks. If you were curious, basalt is actually the most useless block that you're going to find. So this is actually perfect for building. Until you find some nicer blocks, of course. Okay. So our mesh, we actually just want a 3x3. And I wonder if can we actually compress this? We can. So the compression mechanic actually works on this, and that's going to make mesh. All right. So I'm just going to place that on there. And we're actually going to have to decompress our gravel. There we go. And so we want to add this in here. And if we right click this, you can see the progress at the top going up. And it seems we were unlucky and did not get anything. So as you can imagine, spam clicking this is going to be a little bit tedious. Thankfully, we have our macro. Much quicker. Unfortunately, we weren't very lucky that time. Now, we can actually use multiple sieves at the same time. So if we actually take a look at the quests, it'll tell us we can use sieves 25 blocks at a time with 25 oak sieves in a 5x5 square. And if we right click the middle sieve, that's going to let us use all of them at once. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty crazy. So we're definitely going to want to do that. So we actually even have some more mesh. So let's make some more sieves right now. Remember, we can hotkey this. Can we make any more? Yes, we can. Okay, I'm actually going to shift click all our resources in here. If we press the balance grid button, it's going to spread all of our resources across there so that we can make as many sieves as we want. It's just going to make it a lot easier than crafting things one by one. Alright. We're gonna need some more string. Alright, we're gonna need some more blocks as well. So let's see, can we build this platform out just a bit more? If we can make this platform bigger, we could have 2 trees going. I think we're gonna need some more blocks though. That's a good thing this grass has so many pebbles. Alright, perfect. Alright, and let us craft a crook. Alright, I think I actually want to dump some things in this chest. How do we place our torch down? Alright, let's slap a silkworm on. And let's plant another tree. Huh. So we've got some more leaves here, so this can actually spread to the other tree, I think. Okay, crafting on a stick. There we go, we got a 2x block. So it doesn't matter how compressed your blocks are, the hammer will still work on them. Very nice. Alright, how many we got? This is gonna be 8 mesh. We're gonna need more sieves. Alright, so again, we can shift click these in, hit the balance button. That's 12. So we got room for a few more. Alright, but we can sieve these in the meantime. So let's decompress our gravel. And why don't we get some more as well? Why not? We can actually auto mine the compressed blocks too, so that's very nice. Okay. Alright, before we do this, let's actually clear out our inventory. Alright, here we go. Looks like we got a lot of resources. So we got a bunch of different ore chunks. Now, these are basically pebbles. So we can actually compress these as well, and we're gonna get ores from them. So we got osmium, gold, bit of iron. Honestly, not too useful. Not yet. We're gonna need a few more so we can get a few more ores. If we get 3 iron, we can make a bucket too. That's me. But what we did get is flint. So we can craft our shears and finally start working on that crucible. For that water we don't need. Ah yes, I was going to mention, this isn't the only way to get string. We can also use that incredibly tough mod that no one seems to understand. That's right, we can use vanilla for this. And we can start by making a compost bin. Now, with a composter, we are going to need greenery as well. And thankfully, we can also just spam our keybind. I'm an idiot. And that, my friends, is how you accidentally throw away all of your saplings. Now, I did split those up, but thanks to modded Minecraft, it put the other half back into our hotbar. So it's a good thing that there are emergency quests. And we can get a brand new sapling. It's like it never happened. Oh. Alright, now we're not going to use the shears just yet because we need more saplings. Man, I love modern Minecraft. Okay, so thankfully, because we do have these shears, we can get a bunch of greenery. And leaves, just like that. And now, we add some leaves in here. Bone meal. Incredible. Amazing. So if we bone meal the grass, look at that. We get some flowers, we get some short grass. And with this breakable grass, well, we can get seeds, but it looks like we weren't that lucky. So let's get ourselves some more. And that's exactly what we wanted. Hemp seeds. So with hemp seeds, we can actually grow industrial hemp fibers. And with this, we can actually make string. So this is something that we can grow. Now this, I've kind of put the cart before the horse, because with this one, well, we kind of would have needed water, and then, well, we need a bucket to get the water out of the thing. We're gonna need a lot more things to get this going. So thankfully, it's a good thing we knew how to use crooks. Now I'm gonna put some saplings in here so that we don't accidentally throw them in the composter. Right, because who would do that? Okay, so we have 1 iron, so we're gonna need some more. Now, iron is also not the only way to get a bucket. There is another bucket that we can get. Also, thanks to XDORM. So we can actually make a porcelain bucket. And so for this, we need unfired porcelain. We need porcelain clay balls. And this is crafted with clay and bone meal. Thankfully, we know how to get bone meal, thanks to vanilla. How are we getting clay? Now we can actually get clay blocks by mixing dust in a barrel with water. And dust, if you remember, is what happens when we use a hammer on sand. So remember we got this earlier. And now we also know how to get water. This was from the rain, but that's why we're gonna need the other thing. The crucible. There we go. So this, it's basically a composter. Same deal. So we're going to throw our greenery in here. And just going to slowly turn this into water. This is going to take a hot minute. All right, in the meantime, let's get some more sieves going. We need... So we have 12, 13, 14. We're going to need 11 more. Okay, balance this. So the lowest number here is 6. This is going to make 6 sieves. All right, so 4 more. We need a few more slabs and a few more sticks. So if we put this in, balance this, 4 more. We're gonna be 1 short. Oops. All right. I believe this is what the kids call being maxed out. Almost. Almost there. Bit more string. All right, we want iron. All right, now to get iron. Now to get gravel, we can actually compress any of these blocks. These all count as stone blocks. So let us compress these. And I'm going to throw the excess back in here. And we're going to use our hammer on these blocks. So as you can see, we're getting compressed gravel from these. Okay, we are going to need a bit more string. Oh my god, so much. So fast. Okay, it looks like we have at least 3 iron. 3 iron, 3 copper. We can actually compress this a little bit more, get another copper. Alright, so it's time to make a furnace. Okay, so we got a bit sidetracked while we were multitasking, but we got a few more meshes, and we almost have enough for all of our sieves. Alright, let's build that furnace. Oh no, not again! Ah! Stop it! Hold on. We have flint. Yes. 5 attack damage. 5. That 0.75 damage matters. I'm so glad we made this slightly better sword. Ooh, membrane. Alright. Let's get some string. We can make our last mesh. Now that I think about it, how much flint do we have? Now, with our mesh, we can actually upgrade this already. The next tier is flint, and it's only going to cost 4 flint. So with this, we can actually upgrade 10 of our mesh. So, I mean, why not? And the reason we want to do this, so if we have a look, let's actually look at our sieve. Let's look at gravel. I'm talking to people! Excuse me? Oh, membrane. Okay. Alright, where were we? Alright, so if we look at our sieve, and let's take a look at gravel. So, if we get mesh, suddenly we can get dripstone. And on top of that, what else is different? I'm only seeing one additional item here. Iron, 12% chance, 10% chance. So it looks like it's probably a little bit better. Better chance at getting better materials. So that's nice. So we may as well do that. Alright, so we've got to shift, right click with an empty hand, pick all of these up. Crafting table. Alright. And so we're going to shift. Alright, so let's shift right click the string and the mesh here. And again, we can press our balance grid button. Perfect. And that's going to make crafting that a bit easier. It looks like I miscounted. We can actually do one more. Perfect. Okay. And we can actually use the rest of these for leaves. And my flint shears are broken. So, fun fact, when your tools break, they break but they don't disappear. So you can actually repair them. And just like that in your inventory. Saves you a little bit of resources. Okay, let's keep this water going. Okay, so our iron should be done. So the first thing, so with our 3 iron now, if we place it in the crafting grid like this, it's bucket. But that's going to be all the time that we have for today. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date with the series. No! There's 3! Whoop! I'm doing an outro, man! Guys, if you've been enjoying the series, make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll see you in the next one.